The action continues here on stage 2, live at the Players' Championship Finals from Minehead. And it's a meeting between the speedy Jermaine Wattimena of the Netherlands against Northern Ireland's Brendan Dolan, a man who has actually sped up himself over the last couple of years in a bid to rediscover former glories and find form. Did have a good 2021, Paul Nicholson, but hasn't really been in the mix too much in 2022.
No, not much. I think Brendan would say that he's regressed a little bit in 2022, but there's still a little bit of time left. But on the flip side of that, what has happened to Jermaine Wattimena over the last couple of months? It's almost as if he's been in hibernation for about 18 months. We didn't even know if he was still going to continue as a dart player because of the way he was playing. He lost loads of weight. It looks like, and I say this affectionately, it looks like he's gone a bit more cuddly over the last 6 months, but he seems happier. But boy, does his form tell a story. He has played superbly over the last couple of months.
Yeah, really good. Another player who did well at the Grand Slam, just like Alan Suter. Suter going down to Scott Williams, though, in the previous match here on stage 2. Before that, Andrew Gilding got the better of Ricky Evans with a fantastic display, no doubt the best we've seen so far. 6-2 to Goldfinger. Callan Ridds defeated Madars Razmar 6-5, and Daryl Gurney got the better of Keegan Brown 6-3, but the big shock came on the main stage. The number 1 seed, Damon Heta, beaten 6-5 by Ricardo Pietrasco.
96.
Just to give you an indication of what kind of year Jermaine's had, in the first half of the Players' Championship Series, he made a board final, one last 16, and another board final up until the early part of July. Now, at that point, we're thinking, what's wrong with Jermaine? His form's not there. But since the 10th of July, his form has gone in a slightly different direction. In fact, in all of the Players' Championships he's played, he's only lost in the first round once. That tells a good story. On top of that, quarter-final, board final, quarter-final, quarter-final. And it just makes for so much good reading. He's definitely figured something out. And he's one of the most watchable players on Planet Darts. It's great to watch.
He leaves himself on tops to hold throw in the first leg.
42. Jermaine, you require 40.
And he gets it. And it's a strong start. This late season surge continues, seemingly.
Jermaine doesn't look particularly at home on this stage. He looks a little bit lost because he keeps looking down to stage left as if to say, is there anybody there? But maybe he has actually got somebody with him and he's just looking for somebody as inspiration. Now, we've watched him play a lot of European Tour darts. He does do that.
Yeah.
He looks for somebody he knows just to have that muse, somebody to celebrate too. He doesn't want to feel alone.
Just to kind of complete the last couple of conversations and bind them together full circle, Wattimena qualified for the Grand Slam of Darts by beating Brendan Dolan in the qualifier, and then got put in a group with Damon Heta, who he beat at the Grand Slam, ended up getting through in second place to Johnny Clayton.
I like this play as well from Brendan, wearing the long sleeves under the dart shirt, because it's not particularly winter-like yet in Minehead, but it's surprisingly chilly when the wind blows outside. So if you do have this proclivity to feel a little bit chilly in atmospheres like this, just give yourself a bit of extra warmth.
This might warm him a little bit.
92.
Knew he didn't need to go the 14 route with Wattimena in the mid-200s. Dolan, usually a demon on D16.
Well, I think he's going to get it. It's just a question of whether it's dart 1, 2 or 3.
It's one, Paul.
On the second leg.
glad that argument lasted a long time.
Yeah, a man, of course, who made history, as his shirt alludes to, with that first ever 9-dart leg at the World Grand Prix, double start format. He seems to milk it more with every shirt he brings out, doesn't he, Brendan Dolan?
Oh, yeah. It's a bit like a tattoo on the body that just constantly evolves. Now, I've talked about Jermaine's season being slow starting, then getting better in the second half. Look at Brendan's. Really good at the start, but then tailed off. And funnily enough, it seems to have tailed off since he won on the 11th of July. Because he beat Johnny Clayton in that final by 8 legs to 5. And since then, his best effort in a Players' Championship event was a board final. But before the win, there were lots of really consistent runs. There was a semi-final back in Players' Championship 13 and last 16s and quarterfinals. It was just a really good season, and we thought maybe this would be one of the years where he goes deep in a big major, but it just didn't happen.
Jermaine, you require 140.
Time on his side here, Jermaine Wattimena.
100.
Referees really like fast, good counting players, and like you alluded to, Murph, there were some referees who would have to be up there a little bit longer with Brendan in previous seasons, but he doesn't mess around, and that is going to suit Jermaine Wattimena, isn't it? Because he'd much rather play this iteration of Dolan than the previous one.
Nice, easy section of the draw the pair have been put into. The winner likely to face Gerwyn Price. And the winner of that would have been likely to face Peter Wright had he remained in the tournament. Now the top seed in that section is Johnny Clayton.
Well, now you've got to start looking at Ross Smith, the European champion, is in this section as well.
I was going to say, Jan van Veen comes in as the 65th player out of 64 with Peter Wright's withdrawal. Replaces him. This is, by the way, the world champion. Was the world number one. Gerwyn Price has taken that mantle once again. But an automatic replacement. He takes his seeding. You think, what a result. Who have they got in the first round? European champion Ross Smith. Who have they got in the second round if I beat him? Possibly Johnny Clayton. What about in the third round if I get past him? Gerwyn Price.
Yeah, talk about a demon section of the draw. Section 1 is madness. And this is how much madness it is, because the second round game that is definitely going to be on board 2 tomorrow is Callan Ridds against Ricardo Pietreczko. That's one of the reasons why the PDC decided to expand this field to 64. What a genius move. This is genius from Jermaine, almost.
I'm going to ask actually your opinion on that, Paul, because I think it's a very underutilised play that. Often, when a player is on 100 and they hit a single 20, they'll go tops tops. When they hit a treble on a 140, very rarely do they go that route.
More people are doing it now than ever. And the thing that Wattimena's doing very, very well so far in this match is hitting tops. In fact, he's only missed it a couple of times. And with a 3-1 lead, he's looking to speed through to round number 2.
Yeah, very much on top here, the Dutch dynamo that is Jermaine Wattimena. Mentioned him beating Brendan Dolan in that Grand Slam of Darts qualifier recently. It's pretty nip and tuck in their head-to-head record. Leads it 6-5. That was actually the penultimate match. He beat a Polish player by the name of Radek Jaganski in the qualification bout. But look, they much criticised the qualifiers. I'm kind of against them as well, having that many players go to the Grand Slam. But if you look at some of the players that got through and then what they went on to do at the tournament, Jermaine Wattimena, Luke Woodhouse, Alan Souter, and most notably Raymond van Barneveld.
Can I ask why you're so against it?
I just think, for me, that the Grand Slam, now it's lost that cross-code element. should become a fully fledged champion of champions type tournament, and therefore winning something should get you in, and then fill up the places with the qualifiers by all means, but not automatically give 8 places.
So don't penalise someone who, like Brendan Dolan, has won a Players' Championship this year. So by winning that, they should get first dibs. That I agree with, but I still think there should be qualifiers because it's a ranked event and everybody should have that additional opportunity to try and get in. But obviously Gary Anderson didn't agree.
Yeah, he decided against it. He's here and will be on this stage later on, Gary Anderson. 110 then for Wattimena. Could stay there. Opted against it.
What do you think of that play? With that bumper just above that treble 20 bet, I'm thinking 60 double 15's the play. Michael Smith would have stayed there.
Wattimena has been mustered on tops himself, but Dolan looking to hoist him by his own petard here and does so. Break for Brendan.
So, from what you were saying about the History Maker shirt, do you fear, like me, do you fear to think what he's going to wear at Ali Pali, because he's had some Christmas shirts to forget?
Well, I've actually had a message during commentary from the man who makes the shirts for Brendan Dolan, believe it or not.
Seriously?
Yeah. A guy called Tom Farnell puts Brendan's shirts together. I won't say what he called me.
Less is more, Tom, less is more.
But I think it is at Brendan's request that he has all these 9 dart stats emblazoned on.
Honestly, there's just so much going on. There's the helicopter finger. Second mention of that today, actually.
Do you think we'll get one on this stage this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to go for it. Yes, I think we will. Come on, would you give the shirt at a 10? Now that Tom's listening.
I'm not a fan, I'll be honest. I'll give it... I mean, a lot of work's clearly got into it. 10 for actual effort, but 3 for fashion. Can he fashion out this 136 finish? No.
Well, he didn't have to go for treble 20. One of the most underutilised 136 efforts is 2 treble 16s and tops. I think it's something that should be used a bit more, especially when double top's been hit so many times in this game. And it looks like it's going to be used again.
Well, I didn't think that first start was much help, but the way the second one landed, it actually looked like it might have just brushed a flight there.
Yeah, just a flick on at the post or something of that sort of note. Russ Bray, our legendary referee, chiefing this one. Doing a fab job. Well, Dolan's done a fab job in getting himself back in this match. He was 3-1 down. If there's one thing that Brendan has in spades, it's patience and the ability to fight back, because he's done it more than once in his career. That famous story when he won his first title in a while, the previous day he said, I was ready to walk away from the sport, and my wife just told me, get your finger out. Start doing things properly. Next thing you know, he wins a tournament. So good on you, Teresa. Good work.
Should be the 19s here. Yeah, now he can take his pick, but again it's a drifter from Dolan. Not having much trouble with the double 20, but the trebles and the singles have been a little bit iffy in the last couple of legs.
I've picked up on something in this match. I don't know whether you have as well, Murph, because if you look at Brendan coming to the hockey, he's taking his time. That's got nothing to do with him trying to slow the pace of the game down. Nothing to do with it. But look at the pace at which Jermaine is throwing when the history maker's walking past him. He's almost thrown over his shoulder.
94.
He does like to get on with it, impatient to get to the hockey, Jermaine Wattimena. He lobs his darts like they're actually hot in his hand.
Halves the score, and Wattamena's got a chance for the lead again. He doesn't hesitate in going for a different double this time.
Jermaine Wattimena, 8th leg. Brendan, the throw first. Game on.
He's been on the PDC circuit since about 2014, Jermaine Wattimena. He's had some highs and lows. Went through a spell, didn't he, where he was really knocking on the door of being the number 2 in Dutch darts for Michael van Gogh, and in fact did play at the World Cup one year with MVG.
You've got to say that's probably his best achievement to date, but there are other things that he's done which I think need mentioning. He's had some great battles at Ali Pali, involved in some really good last leg deciders, but maybe in a strange sort of way, when you think about the strength and depth and the ups and downs he's had, keeping his card that whole time for 8 years is an achievement in itself.
Absolutely, particularly when you consider some of the players that we're talking about losing it this year. Keegan Brown, who we saw earlier, still in jeopardy. John Henderson likely to lose his. Glenn Durrant, who
Max
won the
Hopp.
Premier League just a couple of years ago.
Max Hopp is looking like he's going to have to start from scratch, and some other players may have to do the same.
137.
Well, this could be a pivotal exchange here, because Jermaine Wattimena has got his nose in front in this leg, and if he can break, not only is he 2 ahead of Brendan Dolan, but he will be throwing for a place in round 2.
100.
Now, if he'd hit that 52 checkout with 12 in tops to continue the trend of tops being hit in this match, I would have said Wattimena going 16s first here as the player. But because he's changed his mind and gone for double 16 on the 52, he could go anywhere for this. And he doesn't get a shot at a double for it. And Dolan does get a look at that same number.
Made a bit of an error before, Brendan Dolan, not with the last tap, but with the first of the previous visit on 259, meaning he ended up not leaving a finish. He does have one now, but he can't find the requisite treble.
56.
And you can just see Brendan Dolan not quite happy. He feels this is slipping away. Wow. That was some noise coming out of the mouth of Jermaine there. He thinks it might be won already.
This is the benefit of watching this stage, because you get the vocalization of these players just a bit better than the main stage. We heard a lot from Callan Rids. We didn't hear a great deal from Scott Williams. We heard nothing from Andrew Gilding, but you're getting lots in the way of voicing from these players. They want this win. They want it badly.
Just going back to Callan Rids as well, mentioned, didn't we, that maybe he'd still be a big underdog against Damon Heta, but he's going to be a favourite now in the second round when he meets Ricardo.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting dynamic when we have that match on this stage. I'm saying it's on this stage because it looks like a stage 2 kind of game. That's an any stage kind of 180.
Yeah, it looks like a main stage kind of performance, certainly towards the back end of this match from Jermaine Wattimena, who is turning on the style.
And it's a £2,500 match, remember. You get £2,500 for getting to the tournament. Win a game, you can double it.
Double top. Well, he can't quite believe it is not in, neither can I, to be honest. His first 180, sorry, second 180 of the match, saved for the last leg, and it looks like it will indeed be just that.
One left and one needed. He gets the win by 6 legs to 3, and his rich vein of form continues. He showed a lot of spirit, a little bit of patience in the first 6 legs of the match because he lost his 3-1 lead. But ultimately, Jermaine Wattimena's renaissance at the end of 2022 continues, and he will go into Saturday's play. But from our next game, who will progress? Will it be Jim Williams or Mike De Decker of Belgium? That's coming up right after this.